If Chihiro can't have his dad, then why does he already get to have her bum-ass dad?
Yo, chill.
Was the best guy around.
What about the people he murdered?
What murder?
Welcome back to the Hishaku Hideout, a weekly podcast where we talk about the latest chapter and everything Kagurabachi. I'm here with Dice.
Yo.
And today we're getting to chapter 112, and I just gotta ask, Hokazono, what is your hang-up with this fake blind man? Let him die. The man turned to dust.
Yeah, it does seem like he has a thing for Samura, right?
I get it, and I'm not even saying that it can't be done, I'm not saying that it wouldn't make sense if he does come back, because, in universe, there's a reason for it, given this is, the building to that if it does happen, but, just introducing the fact of bringing him back, it's basically you're bringing back the possibility of bringing Samura back, and if you don't make good on that, there's gonna be part of the fandom that is just gonna, call it ass. Then if you do bring him back, there's, my thing is, it's almost I personally wouldn't like it, or I would say I personally wouldn't love it. It could still work out in the story because they'll be, exchanging Toby Mune for him, so he's not going to be as much of a powerhouse. Still a beast, mind you, but I'm unsure how I feel about this development.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot in this chapter that we're just gonna have to kind of work our way through, because we do have a lot of thoughts. I think you and I, we agree on some stuff, we don't agree on another, on a bunch of other stuff. So we'll get into it, and I do agree with you. I think people are gonna be calling it ass either way. Really, I think there's different camps of people that just this chapter alone and what it does, bringing up Samura's name, and like you said, the very clear possibility and the intention of bringing him back. It does seem, like you said, that Hokazono has kind of put himself in a position whether if he does bring him back, some people will call it ass, and if he does it, other people will call it ass because he's introduced the idea in such a way. But like I said, let's get into it, right? We do have a little time skip. We had discussed the possibility of a time skip, and we see it's just 4 days later. You were on the money. You've been saying this for a minute. Soga just presents himself to the people, and we get a bunch of this dark power, the black flames that were introduced a couple of chapters ago. So I'll let you kind of get into that before we really dive into the black flames.
Yeah, the 4 days, going back to just the very beginning, as you mentioned, the 4-day time skip. We had a stream in the middle of the week and talked to Cal. Shout out to her, by the way.
Yep.
And we all kind of guessed if there would be a time skip, how much, and of course how this chapter concludes and the end of this part 1, there could be a longer time skip that that we were actually talking about. You were saying something?
No, I just said, oh yeah, you're right.
Oh yeah, my bad. But so we don't get to see what really happens in those 4 days. And I'm just gonna say this outright. I'll get cooked in the comments for this. But my reasonings are kind of, I'll just say it, fuck it. As a conclusion to an arc, I don't think this chapter gets the job done. Now, as a chapter, in a vacuum, this chapter as a standalone chapter is great. I think it's real cool. We get a lot of there's a lot of interesting talking points, and especially with finally seeing Chihiro going to reforge the sword. But just as concluding an arc, there's no feeling. It didn't really resonate with me. We don't see what happens in those 4 days, and we don't get to see him meeting with Hakuri and all that. And those 4 days, I would have liked to see the events of those 4 days instead of getting it done in a flashback. But I just wanted to say that off the top. I know that's probably going to be, not a popular opinion, and I'm okay with getting cooked, but that's just how I feel. This doesn't really conclude the arc all that well. But moving on, the dark power, sorry, I was yapping for a second. The dark power is pretty interesting. The fact that, basically if the sword is broken and it's on its, death's door, with Cloud Gouger, basically the sword sacrifices itself to bring forth this dark power. And Samura, as he was on death's door, he did it himself, and he sacrificed his own life. So it's going to be interesting to see how Hokazono takes it. Like, one is this ability so great where he can just swap out Tobimune and basically have Tobimune sacrifice itself to bring back Samura, which I think it would be really interesting because we know like the enchanted sword bearers are kind of viewed as their swords. So it would be kind of recontextualize that.
Yeah, we talked about this. Like the whole idea of life contract almost has like a whole nother, like added layers to that meaning now, right? When it comes to the black flames and this dark power that we're is starting to be more properly fleshed out. Originally, I was like really worried because there's already the true realm, which when you look at how Chihiro describes the, this dark power, the black flames, he says an esoteric realm, and it's like it is very kind of similar to the true realm. And at first, I was a bit worried because we haven't even, at least I think that we haven't really seen the full potential of what the true realm is capable of, even though it is infinitely, like malleable. So like there technically isn't a full potential. But the fact that we just, Soga did the malediction and all that, but I just, like I said, I was just a bit worried in regards to how Hokazono might treat these two in like these two realms of the Enchanted Blades, right? And the more I think about it, the more it kind of starts to work for me because, we also find out that Magatsumi is basically the only blade that can command this power at all times. And that's essentially what allows it to drain life, because that's how Chihiro describes this dark power, a power that sacrifices lives. And it's the hidden knowledge of the Enchanted Blades that even Kunishige himself couldn't fathom. And again, the more I thought about this, it starts to make a lot more sense because Kunishige did understand the true realm, right? Like he understood what the blades were capable of, but the way it's phrased here, it seems like he didn't fathom at all, like what this dark power is capable of, besides the fact that it's just like sacrificing life. And yeah, what Samura does is pretty crazy. And the fact that there's like the potential of him coming back now, I do wonder if this is something that, like I said, it was only accomplished because he was able to like use the true realm with the dark power in tandem. We don't know if like other bearers have used, let me not go too deep on that because everything indicates that the Magatsumi's been the only one that like commands that power. I can't help but wonder if this is something that Samura has tapped into before, and like it's what allowed him to like know that he could do it now. So I guess what I'll say is I want to see how the true realm kind of fits into it. How can both powers and both realms be used simultaneously to, reach a blade's quote unquote full potential? So yeah, like I said, man, there's just a lot in this chapter, really.
I think the dark power is just kind of like an intrinsic thing for the sword bearers. It kind of like becomes innate to them. Like Chihiro, he says like they have he believes that they have like some kind of concept of life to the Enchanted Blades, which would make sense because that's why like they can sacrifice, basically use their life force when they're broken, basically on death's door to enact this dark energy, this dark power. So like I think it's more along the lines of like just like I'm wondering what was like the base function, or not function, but the what did the Magatsumi look like fresh, and how did Soga basically alter it via the true realm, him basically synchronizing with the blade and basically changing what it really is, how it was originally, because I doubt he grabbed the sword and he just started sucking life from it. It's more like he kind of like he basically true realmed and synchronized with the sword to change it to like that kind of function, because that's what he needed for like the malediction. And you talked about like how it's gonna balance the true realm and this dark energy thing. I don't think this dark I don't think we're going to see much of the dark energy. Obviously we'll see it again. And especially if Samura comes back, that's how they got to bring Samura back. More along the lines of, I just hope it doesn't become like a Deus Ex Machina where, I guess it really wouldn't be a Deus Ex Machina at that point because it was more flushed out. But, this like their last ditch effort, and every fight ends with like dark energy when it comes to sword bearers. You know what I mean? Like if Hirohiko gets Kumiyuri back and he just basically crashes out and sacrifices his life or puts his life energy into it to try and fight Chihiro. I just hope that every fight doesn't boil down to the dark energy. That's what I'm hoping. I'm indifferent on it right now. Like I don't have a problem with it. I get it. But and I just think the true realm is just going to constantly be them synchronizing with their own blades and altering its, the state as is. And then the dark energy will just basically amp all that. But it remains to be seen. It's a lot. They can go a lot of different ways with this. I'm not sure. My big thing is like the Samura thing in this chapter. It makes sense to me that the dark energy and using Tobimune to like use its life force to bring back Samura. Like in theory, that sounds like it sticks. But like just as the fact that what Samura did, gave up his life for and all that, like it would be nice. It's nice so him and Yuri can just live a normal life together. But I don't know, man. My mind is like kind of like everywhere when it comes to this chapter. Because like I don't want to like be too hard on Hokazono on the things I have issues with, because like I said, my criticism is I just don't think this concludes the arc that well. But like the chapter itself is cool. There's a lot of cool developments. I disagree with the Samura thing, but everything else I really like, So my mind's just a bit scattered. This episode's a bit rough for me. I can't lie to you. Like,
no, I get it. I get it. I like I said, I do agree with some of those arguments really, because I did kind of feel the same way in regards to like as a conclusion and still like a lot of the questions that I still have, and even Samura as a character, like his sacrifice really hits, and what would it's kind of like what we've talked about with Yura, but in a kind of like at a different level, because there's so much more behind Samura's character that is like, how does bringing him back kind of like take away from his character, and so yeah, though it's not like something that I am looking forward to, if I'm honest, because I do think that he went out like a tragic character should. There's a lot.
I agree.
And there's a lot in this story that I wouldn't have like if you put me in that moment, it's not like what I would have wanted at the time. And it's been okay. Like, yeah, I do have my critiques. Like, I do have things that I still would have liked to see. But overall, like, I do trust in the story Hokazono is building. And in regards to, like, the Black Flames and how it will continue to be used moving forward, what at this point, we've only seen it with Cloud Gouger, which, yeah, we know that, we know what happened there. We saw it with Samura just now, and we will very likely see it when he's brought back. We also know what Chihiro says in this chapter is that, like I said, the Magatsumi is the only blade that always commands this power, but the other enchanted blades always had that potential as well. And so I do wonder if this is how we're going to get rid of the other blades by the end of the story, right? Because think about it, Cloud Gouger went out this way, and now Tobimune, like I said, will very likely go out this way as well. This might be a thing where like it's not something that's really used in battle. I mean, Chihiro maybe like we could see it again in battle, but I do wonder if Hokazono is going to use it for more of, like I said, like the destruction of the enchanted blades. So there's still like a lot we just have to wait and see. Like we always talk about, execution is a lot of like how, it's always about execution, right? At the end of the day. And there's a lot of things that like we don't like. Even Samura, a lot of people have thought that he's going to die for a long time, and I thought he was going to go out a certain way, and Hokazono managed to like go above and beyond in terms of that. So
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know.
And can I like? I guess let's just stay on this for a second.
Yeah.
The Samura thing, um, and you raise a good point about execution. Execution is like very, very important, because there's story beats that I don't necessarily love in Kagurabachi, but it's Hokazono's execution in those story beats that makes it that makes the story good, because I don't have to agree or like a certain
Development.
story mechanic or a moment, but when Hokazono like executes it like really well in tandem of the story and like the events going on at the current time, you don't just view it as one decision anymore. You're looking at it as like the whole view of the events that happened. Like, oh yeah, I didn't like that this character is helping this character, but the way he does it, it makes it it makes it good. It makes it like easy to like accept, because he executed it so well. That being said, and I kind of was like, they had some stuff going on in the living room that kind of threw me off my thought. My bad. But with Samura, let's just be honest here. I think you nailed it on the head. His conclusion went above and beyond, especially as like a tragic character. It like hit all the boxes. It felt rewarding, like as a reader, to like go through his arc and see him do this. So like, what does bringing him back do for the story? Like, just in terms of like right now, it seems like, of course there could be more, but right now it just seems like he would only bring him back just so him and Yori could be together. Because his story has been great, like for what he has achieved and what he went through, like the trauma of his life, and he sided with the Hishaku and he had his reasons for doing so and all that. But I felt like he went out, like for character writing, I felt like it was perfect. I felt like Hokazono landed the plane and he could have left that there, and Samura would have been a great character. If he comes back just to be a dad to Yori, it just feels like it kind of cheapens out like what he actually stood for. And like Chihiro, I get Chihiro would like to give Yori her dad back because he can't have his dad. I get that playing a part, but I don't know, like, what do you think Samura coming back adds to the story, really? I mean, I know that's a loaded question. That's very hard. So if you don't have an answer, it's fully, I get that. It's a touchy subject as well.
No, I mean, to be honest, this is kind of gonna I'm a cheat, right? But like, that's the question. Like, really, that's because like I stand with you, man. Like, I don't necessarily think that this is gonna be for the best of the story. But the one thing I can think about, and like the only time Hokazono has kind of done this before, is like we had kind of like a similar conversation when Uruha came back. Our episode of like Uruha's comeback chapter is literally titled "Is Uruha back, like coming back, a good thing?" So we've had these kind of like discussions before, and for Uruha, it's all about like, and for Samura, it's all about like, what is Hokazono gonna do with that character now? Right? I mean, for Uruha, there's still, we're still waiting, right? Excuse me. Like, we saw a bit of his sorcery. We saw him move and, go crazy in the Kamunabi HQ. So, like, we have a little bit of payoff already from Uruha and kind of, like, holding back Yura enough just for, like, Samura and Chihiro arrive. But there is an argument to be made of, like, we're kind of still waiting to see more of, like, what Hokazono has in store for that character. And to an even greater degree, I think that would apply to Samura if he comes back. Because I do agree with you in that, like, it does seem that it's mainly to kind of reunite him with Yori. Like, we get that one big panel of, like, Chihiro saying, like, Mr. Samura never gave up his life with you. And so, like, yeah, that hits, that's powerful. But, yeah, there is, like, I also agree with you. I am kind of mixed, because my whole thing is that, like, Samura collided with the Hishaku, and even though most listeners might disagree with me, I always thought that, like, again, what makes up a tragic character is the fact that he makes these decisions and a lot, more often than not, ends up paying for them. With Samura, I thought that it was just fitting for him to go out against Soga, especially after having gone down the wrong path. Like, yeah, Chihiro redeemed him and all that, but it's still, like, I always saw it like it was never enough to kind of you can't undo what you did, right? But Hokazono seems to have something else in store for the character, and at this point, like, maybe he's a sensei to Chihiro. We know he's gonna be greatly nerfed. Like, we just have to wait. I don't want to kind of like judge him beforehand, because like I said, we're kind of still waiting on Uruha, even though he's, like I said, already kind of done his thing. So it could be like very much a similar strategy with Samura. We're honestly, we just have to wait and see.
And with Uruha, my argument for him would be Uruha was kind of more of a blank canvas.
That's true.
It was more acceptable to bring someone like him back, whereas like Samura had this entire arc and was fleshed out, and we spent so much. He's been so like prominent in the story and a big part of more than half the series now. And it's like you give him all that great writing, and if you bringing him back, like, sure, there could be good and it could be bad. It's like you said, we just have to wait and see. But the let Hokazono cook thing is fine, but like this chapter, there's just it kind of left me wanting like more, but not in a hype sense. It's more like I felt like we're missing out. And we didn't get to see like the reunion of Hakari and Chihiro, and that's been a big thing, I personally believe that Shiba teleported everybody to the same place, so we, as a conclusion to an arc that's been going on for so long, we don't get to see like their reunion. We don't get to see like the state of Azami. We don't get to see like Chihiro's like immediate reaction to the events that happened. And I think that is one thing that I will criticize Hokazono for, is never giving Chihiro like these character moments in real time. We always get like these big reveals that he hears in flashbacks. And I do think that is a problem. Because I want to see Chihiro get hit with a realization and deal with it in real time. I don't want to see him already resolved and ready to go, then get a flashback of what happened. And maybe, I'm not sure, I know that was your big hang up on Chihiro for a while, is just never seeing him actually like grow through adversity in real time. I believe you brought that up. I know we talked about that, but I also believe you brought it up a while back in an episode. So, I mean, those are things that, like I said, in a vacuum, this chapter is really cool. But I do think a lot of people are just, like, so excited about seeing the end of part one, that they're kind of, like, forgiving that we didn't really get, it doesn't resonate as, like, a conclusion chapter to this big arc. And maybe it's just me, and like I said, I'm okay with getting cooked in the comments. Fuck
it. No, I think there's two things here, right? When it comes to Chihiro himself, like you said it, that's a big critique of mine when it comes to Chihiro's development as the MC. And I'm just still holding out hope that we'll get that eventually. It does suck that it's been over 100 chapters and we still haven't really gotten that. And that's exactly why Chihiro isn't really even in it's hard to say he's even in my top 5 favorite characters, because even though like I've said before, he's enjoyable. I love to see him, like, and, even seeing him at the end here, like the relationship with Kunishige, there's a lot there that I really enjoy, but there's more that I personally look for in a main character. And like you said, like seeing that climb through adversity, in real time is very important for me personally. And I just think we'll see it. We'll see it at some point, hopefully. But like you said, it doesn't mean that we can't critique it at the moment for not getting that. So I get where you're coming from. Where I think you and me disagree a bit more is on like the conclusion of this as an arc. Even though I do agree that, like I said, there is like we are left kind of yearning for more. Like I want more as well. There's a lot of questions that I would have liked to see resolved. It does feel like since the Rakuzaichi arc, since the conclusion of the Rakuzaichi arc, we haven't really gotten a solid arc conclusion. And we've really talked about this, of what's felt like the Sword Bearer's assassination saga, because we transitioned out of that arc when Chihiro was brought back to life with Suzaku, and we didn't even like notice because we were then going straight into Kyoto, and then we're going straight into Kamunawi HQ. Those are, per the official website, different arcs, you know, that we didn't really get any sort of like wrap up. It just kind of like kept going. Now this is something different because this is the conclusion of a part 1, and like I said, it caps off like what feels like ultimately the saga. The reason, I'll just be honest and I'll get into this now because, you know, we still have to get into like baby Chihiro and, you know, more into like the ending of like the reforging of Enten. But just to kind of say this now, the reason I'm able to overlook that is because I can see the conclusion of like Chihiro now seeing the world through his own eyes. We had a lot on like the different perspectives when it comes to the Enchanted Blades, and I do like that we get that montage. Again, we'll really get into it in a bit, but just to kind of say this, for me, that's why I'm able to kind of overlook everything, because the way I see it, Hokazono is going to kind of come back to this. And again, Ty, I know what you're saying. We're a bit fed up with the flashbacks and a lot being conveyed. That's, you know, we might get more of that. Or we might not, man. I also am still like, maybe there is a reason for what, like maybe Chihiro and Hakuri really haven't seen each other, and we'll see what the reason for that is. I just don't really want to make too many assumptions until we kind of keep progressing in the story. But you know, like I also said, we can still call things out in the moment. But yeah, the fact that this ends on Chihiro seeing the world through his own eyes, forging his katana, it does feel like, you know, the closing of a chapter. You know, it's a part, and you know, the start of something new. You know, you even said up top, we might get like a bigger time skip. So I'm still on the let Hokazono cook train, but I am not, like I said, I don't disagree in what you're saying. You know, we always have to call things out in the moment, right? Because this is a week-to-week story at the end of the day.
Yeah, and you know, like just talking about, you know, like I think a lot of people are gonna kind of maybe misinterpret my feelings about this chapter, because like I mean, I know I've already
stand on business.
No,
I'm just kidding.
you know, like the truth. No, yeah, dead ass though. The truth is like, because you know, the stakes of the series is when we really like deep it, right? The only people that actually died on our side was Kudo and some of the anti-Cloud Gouger squad. And I'm not saying death needs to happen for a story to be good. I'm not saying that. But like, Uraha died, came back. We know there's a in-universe reason for it. We accept it. Like, but the truth is, like, Soga's was running around. Samura fought Soga, and now Samura can, like, he sacrificed his life to do so, but he comes back. It just feel like if you bring back another sword bearer, it just kind of like, it just hinders the story a little bit for me. Not in a way that makes me like hate it or nothing like that, because you know, I truly love Kagurabachi. It's just something I thought about, like, man, considering also everything that happened and all these like dramatic things, even like we talked about Hakuri with his like sorcery getting nerfed. But then, you know, he was using his sorcery like a bunch in that one span against Yuki Sada, and we don't see any like drawback on that. So
and we called that out for sure.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's just like little things where like those are like we should have saw if his like sorcery was really nerfed that much and he couldn't push himself anymore because of it, and that he did push himself because he used his sorcery a good bit there. Like we don't see like the stakes of that, like him hurting himself further or anything like that. We don't see, like, that's just one thing I kind of got like the last like little pin up I have about, you know, this chapter.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I mean, my stance is still the same. Like, even though, you know, you were clear about like the flashbacks and like, you know, getting the information afterwards, it is very clearly going to be that way. Like, we are going to get the aftermath at the beginning of, you know, part 2, and it's then maybe Hakuri will make a comment like, oh, my sorcery is even more fried now, you know, like I do see that sort of thing.
I want to see Hakuri wearing a helmet and being escorted around. God damn it, I'm just playing
in a wheelchair. No.
Yeah, drooling.
But and when it comes to Samura, dude, like the reason why like I also don't think you should get too ahead of yourself in terms of like how you feel about it is because this is something, I mean, it's not being framed this way, but this could be something that happens in the end game. Like they're talking about it now, but maybe they don't have the chance to bring him back until the end. And maybe they just bring Samura back like for a happy ending at the end of the story to reunite with Yori or whatever, and like yeah, it doesn't kind of discredit everything else you said.
Yeah,
But
that kind of cheaps it out a bit to me too. Like those assumptions is what I worry about. Like the fandom going on too is like now it leaves the door open for like the opposite end of assumptions as well. Like people like really cue on like when you assume something like negative against the story, but there's also a truth of like these lead to like assumptions that are gonna like some of the fandom, you know, not everyone, but they're gonna conflate those and you know. Oh, Samura's gonna come back, and that, you know, like I don't know, like I do think there's the equal but opposite as well. Like it leaves the possibility for people to like invest in these like that's more so like a like that's more of a JJK fandom thing to be real. But I just don't want Hokazono to also get shit if he doesn't bring Samura back. You know what I mean?
That's why I said people are like, that's the first thing I said. People are going to call it ass either way at this point. He's already framed it in a way where like there's going to be two camps, like very much divided on this whole thing. Like we are going to see that 100%.
Yeah, I guess what I was trying to say is like people call out when someone that makes assumptions that like goes against the popular opinion, like those are seen as like bad. But also like the assumptions of, you know, people making these assumptions that he will come back can also be just as detrimental to the story if Hokazono doesn't actually go that route, is kind of what I meant. Like just the possibility leaves like just there's so much up in the air.
Yeah, no, for sure, dude, for sure. Yeah, well, I you know, we'll just
we don't have to stay on it too. We don't have to stay on it any longer. I mean, we can kind of just. I'm my bad if you had something else to say.
No, I really do think we covered like all the bases in regards to Samura. Like people will have like strong feelings about it, but at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, we're just gonna have to wait and see like where Hokazono goes with it. And maybe 50 chapters from now, or by the end of the story, you know, depends on how long. You're still gonna be like, nope, this was shit. I didn't like this, and hey, fair enough. Or maybe like your opinion is swayed a bit. Like we're just gonna have to. And I know that's obvious. I'm not saying anything crazy here. But what I do think is that Hokazono has laid things out in a way where, sure, like I said, people will have their opinions regardless. But the way I'm seeing things, I still see a very viable path moving forward. And in a way where like we said, like, sure, I would have preferred this or that. But ultimately, I'm very much enjoying what I'm getting. And that's what has happened so far, 112 chapters into Kagurabachi. It hasn't gone exactly.
For part 2, you know? I'm excited for part 2 for sure. Like not everything I say does not take away enjoyment, you know. And I'm not saying that you're saying that, but
no, and for sure, and like at least, sorry to cut you off, but like the reason I'm also very much looking to part 2 is like what you just kind of like critiqued of part 1, the fact that we have so much to look forward to in terms of the aftermath after you know, after all of this. And it's, you know, it's just an interpretation thing, right? Not to say that like you were wrong for like seeing it one way and that, you know, but yeah, there is a lot to look forward to in part 2. And if I can just segue kind of now to, you know, further along in the chapter, I think one of those things that we have to look forward to is this kind of like more on this relationship between Soga and baby Chihiro, which I think this is the first time, you know, this is the first time, right? We really see baby Chihiro. And he's covered up, you know, there's blood on, you know, the wrapping or whatever is, you know, the towel cloth or whatever you want to call it.
That's his swaddle. He was being swaddled.
Okay. So yeah, what's your kind of take on that?
Samura should stay dead. I'm just playing. Just stay on that. So, you know, we see Soga saying, you're cursed too. He's like, cursed? He's like, what I got from the war was a lesson. So what I take this as is maybe, you know, there might have been a moment in the war, like maybe they got the swordsmen got called back before, whatever, like right before the treaty was signed or during the treaty was being signed. Just, all the sword bearers got called back. And maybe there was like some rogue Shikoku warriors that was still out, destroying towns or, whatever the case may be. Basically, I think Soga came to seeing his sister being attacked, and she basically sacrificed her life to protect Chihiro as a baby. And Soga got there in just enough time to save Chihiro, but not his sister. And that's what we see, like the blood is like the blood of his mother. And he basically resolves himself that like, that he wants to get rid of all of them. He just like chooses to, at that point, my sister gave her life for this child. This is her firstborn. So I'm going to protect him by getting rid of, anybody that's connected or, that whole island. I'm going to get rid of them. That whole race of people. I'm going to go commit mass genocide, just to protect the future. So kind of like he put it off almost like he did it for Chihiro in a sense. And we would have to see like how that would come about. Because, we know he also did try to kill Chihiro, but that could just be because, Chihiro grew up to go against Soga's beliefs of this absolute justice, and wanting to like take away the enchanted blades. And, so it could be something just like that where he just witnessed his sister sacrifice her life. And maybe he was really close to his sister. Like we do see like that being like, look at Megumi and Sumiki. Sumiki was Megumi's whole reason for living. So maybe Soga was just so jaded on everything, but like his sister was like the light in his life. And that was like, I know a lot of people aren't gonna like that, but maybe that was like the switch to, say, nah, that treaty, I don't care. I gotta go end it now. I gotta go get rid of all of them.
Yeah, that's a good point in terms of like what type of relationship he had with his sister. I will say, just for the people that might be thinking that this isn't Chihiro, that this could be anybody other than Chihiro, really, because I don't personally see how it could be. But I do think it's very clearly Chihiro. I mean, the hair very clearly looks like Chihiro.
We know he was born at the end of the war.
Yeah, and like the context and everything clearly points towards this being Chihiro. I just kind of like, I don't know why I felt the need to just kind of bring that up, really, because I'm sure that there's people that like, because at first, maybe I'm just projecting, right? At first I thought like, wait, like does Soga have like a son or something? It's like, no, this is very clearly Chihiro, right? Because we have like discussed like the potential of what did Soga lose during the war that made him this way. I've always said that it was his sister, Chihiro's mom. I mean, I have a whole video on it of like me thinking that it's very, like, it's a bit cliche, but I think it also 100% works, whether he had this crazy, like this very good relationship with his sister or not. I mean, obviously he must have had like a, at least pretty good relationship with her. I do think that the combination
relationship than I have with mine.
chill.
I was jealous. Crazy.
No. But yeah, just like the fact that like the combination of whatever he saw in the war, right, from going at it with the Shikoku invaders, in combination with like them having taken his sister's life, and like you said, him potentially barely being able to save Chihiro, like it adds so much. It adds like so much weight to the whole thing, because the way I predicted it was like the way I've seen it, like I figured that it was very likely that it was, again, Chihiro's mom what Soga lost during the war, but I hadn't really thought of the potential of him kind of picking up Chihiro, saving him with the blood on his hands. Like that image alone and the implications, like, and like you said, the potential for like conversation between Chihiro and Soga, again, man, that might just be what delivers what we've been expecting in terms of like that adversity from Chihiro and like him having to reckon with certain truths, right, that he doesn't like. So yeah, I think that's one thing to really look forward to. What's that gonna do to Chihiro? What does that mean for Soga? Because it is also like an insane follow-up because last chapter he said, I should have cut off his head. And now we get this in this chapter, which again, it only adds more to that. So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to that, and we all know where we go from here, right? I'll let you kind of, get into this with Chihiro and all.
Yeah, so we see Chihiro, now that he has the tip of the Cloud Gouger, the tip of N10, and the handle of N10. By the way, we kind of skipped over this. I thought it was funny as hell. Iori tried to break Toby Mune over her knee.
That shit hurt too, cause she.
Oh, I can imagine. That girl, swords can't break that thing, girl. But I thought that was funny.
I saw that. I was like, bro, what a goofball. This really is just a trio of goofballs when you think of Hakuri. When you look at her, and I mean, Chihiro's pretty stoic, but he's had his moments as well. Even though he's the least. Yeah. I guess of the three least goofball or whatever, but they're funny,
why is Chihiro wearing a suit? They couldn't get my man's anything more comfortable.
Yeah, he's still wearing. He got gloves on too. Bro, relax.
Yeah, dude.
I think Hokazono
but don't
just
worry,
loves,
there'll be a flashback. Don't worry, a
suits.
Flashback will tell us why he's wearing that.
No, bro, chill.
I'm gonna start memeing that. Just
I can't let you.
Flashback Bachi.
No, it's actually the Europe parallels, bro. You don't get it, see? Because now
I'm not deep in it enough. I tell you, the new Hishaku, the Neo Hishaku.
Hey, man. Hey, I mean, yeah.
But now we see him, he's got all the parts. We know that he crafted N10 with Kunishige. He has the Rakuhiro eyes needed to, when to temper it just right, the Datanseki just right. So, it basically comes down to what kind of blade should he craft? Through all his experiences, what is the world that Chihiro has seen through those eyes? We see his experiences with Sojo, which we know was a big influence on him and was a much needed reality check early on in his adventure. Hiyuki being of sound mind and justice to be it's self-servicing. Anyone who uses the enchanted blade is for their own, for themselves, it's just self-servicing. We see people praise the Magatsumi. People blame Kunishige. So going through all this, what blade is he gonna make? And, I honestly have no theories of what's gonna come from this. I made that meme of Kurentengamo, where I just put the Cloud Gouger, basically Darth Maul, where it's a blade on each end and a handle in the middle. But that's not gonna be it. Obviously, it's just a meme. But is he gonna just have a dragon now? Is this gonna be Gyarados? Because we know Cloud Gouger's the whole thing was a dragon. So his thing's a fish. There's that there's that Japanese folk tale about I think it's also Gyarados lore about a fish swimming up a waterfall and becoming a dragon. So I really don't know what he's gonna craft, but all I know is this particular part was a great conclusion for me of the whole part. It started with a young man who wanted to become a swordsmith. Now it ends with a young man, trying to surpass his legendary father, swordsmith father. And I can't wait to see what comes out of it. This is one thing that I'm not gonna really theorize too much on. I'm just gonna accept it for what it is, and I know I'm gonna enjoy whatever it is, just because everything that we have so far in his experiences, this is something that I know Hokazono is gonna really fucking cook.
I agree. I mean, he's been building up towards this for, again, 112 chapters now, and
wait.
Yeah.
Oh, my fault. My headset fucking volume got low as hell. I couldn't hear you. What'd you say?
Fuck, I forgot what I said. No,
my fault.
No worries. I kind of lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Hokazono has been building up towards this for 112 chapters now, and I think, like you, I agree that to cap it off at this point is just perfect, because we've seen enough. We've seen enough from Sojo, from like, you know, Samura, from Hiyuki, from Kyora, from Yura, enough for like Chihiro to now be able to see the world with his own eyes. So like I said a couple of minutes ago, I do like that we're coming back to that, and this marks the end of this chapter for Chihiro, and, you know, the start of a new one. Bro, he's gonna forge the Kagurabachi Enchanted Blade.
Oh my god. Dropped. Kagura butt cheeks. That's a... Can I ask you something? And this time I just thought about.
Good.
We did not meet the last two Enchanted Blade wielders, you know, Pinky and Subaru. Does that mean that like their vision or whatever they can kind of add to the world just isn't as like, does that make you think they're just not as like vital or like as important of characters? Like, we know they're not going to get as much writing as Samura, obviously, but you know, Chihiro not meeting them beforehand makes me feel like their experiences aren't going to really change much in the story, you know, like compared to like his experiences so far. Or do you think like I mean, obviously there's still going to be characters and have their own story, but just in terms of influencing on Chihiro, it just makes me think that it's not going to be as like as much as maybe originally thought.
No, yeah, like I think that, like you said, man, I think they won't even come close to what we've seen from Uruha and Samura. We could be wrong, because like I said, we're starting a whole new part now, so maybe that's where, you know, we're almost certainly going to spend some time with these bearers, unless next time we cut, like Kaguri is wielding his Enchanted Blade, you know, like I don't know. I can't, to be fair, I can't even answer.
My thing is just more like if they were going to influence Chihiro and his view of the world, they would have like met him before he did this like crafting. You know what I mean? Because he's crafting this sword. Like, this is the sword that he needs to like wield to like, you know, bring this story home for him to like finish this. Well, like, they can still play a big part, but just, I guess, more so like the influence on Chihiro.
I guess the way I see it is like Hokazono has put in front of Chihiro the necessary characters to kind of like, for him to kind of evolve in, how can I say this? I think the short answer to your question is no. I don't think they will affect Chihiro in the way that we've seen Sojo, Samura, Uruha, and these other characters kind of like mold Chihiro's viewing of the world. I think we've seen that. We've seen that throughout part 1 now. I think what we can get is an added perspective of the war and what exactly, you know, how an Enchanted Blade should be wielded. But I think it's going to be very different compared to what we have seen.
Like, they can influence the world of Kagurabachi, but not so specifically on Chihiro's mindset or viewpoint.
Yeah, I mean, there will be more commentary on the Enchanted Blades, and I expect the Seitei War to, you know, like be a very prevalent thing moving forward. A lot of us, you know, most of us are expecting a whole Seitei War arc. So I think Stop it. I think a lot of that will continue to influence Chihiro's character development, because I don't think Chihiro's character development has ended here. But just in terms of like setting him off on this journey to now properly see the world, forging his own blade, not just kind of holding on to his father's legacy, but also forging his own legacy. What does that mean? What does it mean to, like, you know, forge your own legacy? So I just think that that's what we're going to get now. He's still going to be confronted with different ideologies that might shake him, might change him. Like I said, there is still more to see with Soga, but it's just going to be a different phase. It's going to be about like how he should wield this newly forged blade, not what goes into its creation. I guess that's really the only way I can put it.
Fair. I mean, I guess we kind of really talked about most things. I want to ask you, do you have any theories about like the sword that he's about to craft? is like there a specific, do you think he's just gonna get like all the abilities of both swords? Do you think it's gonna like alter and become its own like new sword that has 3 new abilities?
That's a very good question. Um,
Yes.
I think he'll have access to all of the abilities as well as like new ones. Because I just can't see. Well, yeah, I'm standing on that, right? Like I do think we're gonna see like some of Cloud Gouger's old abilities. I think we're gonna see Akka again. Like I think.
Yeah, because
I think
Aka's so like such a good ability. You don't want to lose that.
Yeah, I think there's like we're gonna see those old abilities again, and I think we're gonna see new abilities for sure.
Oh, you know what?
Uh,
My bad. I don't mean to cut you off. Yeah, he
yeah,
has to keep the same abilities because Nishiki is like drastically vital to the fight against Soga. So he has to keep Nishiki, or however you want to say it.
yeah. Plus, like I don't think the fish are going anywhere. So I think if anything, is just gonna see like like the combination of both. I think the Gyarados or whatever it's called was funny, but it's kind of like on the money. I wouldn't be surprised to see, not that exactly, but just what the combinations of like of fish, in the water from like Cloud Gouger's abilities, because Cloud Gouger's abilities, is a dragon was a spirit energy manifestation, but its abilities are very like weather based and all that. So I do wonder if like the combination of those will, what's that gonna look like really? But yeah, to answer your question, I think it's gonna be all of the above, like all of the abilities, and it's also kind of fitting because, or it would make sense, not that it's fitting, but I think it makes sense because Magatsumi has like infinite abilities, so like you're gonna have to like start somewhere when it comes to like countering that, and I feel like this is a good starting off point. Plus, there's Akka, like you just talked about, and yeah, what he can really do with Akka in this newly forged blade is gonna be interesting. And yeah, Nishiki is definitely vital moving forward. But yeah, I thought it was just really cool that we're finally seeing like the other piece of Cloud Gouger. We talked about it for a couple of episodes. The way like I do have to praise Hokazono's art towards the end of the chapter, really, when it goes into like again Chihiro as a baby, Chihiro in the mountains kind of forging. We see like the stressing of not the stressing really, but like the glare of the fire and just the lines, the line work, his eyes, the notes, new N10, new Cloud Gouger, the way it's all like just the paneling, everything, man. I'm glazing the fuck out of Hokazono right now because I do think that this was like a very banger way to close things out. Like I said, I'm willing to overlook so much of my issues in terms of what I wanted to see because this is so good and because it's something that me personally I've wanted to see for a while now. How does these different perspectives of the Enchanted Blades, especially Yura's, man, that's what really marked Yura as like a top 2, potentially even top 1 character for me, is like is what he brings forward right before he goes out. And I do think, man, I think that's gonna shape Chihiro's mindset more than people think. I do think Chihiro's gonna acknowledge, Yura's words. I mean, he says to what end, right? And it's right after we see that paneling of Yura. I might be misinterpreting that, right? But yeah, man, 10 out of 10, closure for me when it comes to this specifically.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was quite some yap.
2 out of 10 for me. I'm just playing.
Flashback.
I ain't gonna stand that. I ain't staying on that kind of business. That ain't the business I'm in. No, but yeah, I agree. And yeah, especially, man, that art is fucking insane. They even got, he drew Kunishige looking like a fucking idiot at one panel. Like, bro, do yourself a favor. Close your mouth.
Yeah.
But yeah, all in all, this was a really good chapter. I'm really, I really need to see next chapter, man. This is one of the moments where it's like, I would like to just jump to next Sunday because there's so much in my mind of like, where exactly is he going with this? But I'm looking forward to it, I am looking forward to it.
I mean, last kind of like quick talking points I just want to run through because I know you referenced it. The fact that he says, "I'll surpass you." You know, he goes from saying, "I'm not joking about becoming a swordsmith. I want to follow in your footsteps," you know, to like, "I'll surpass you." And again, I love that because I feel like it speaks to his ability that like he's not just solving the problem that was the enchanted blades in the world and like all the bad and chaos and destruction that could come with it, but it's also like we've talked about, like Yura says, the fact that they have a duty. And I feel like that's kind of part of what like Kunishige wasn't able, whether it's because, you know, he didn't have the chance because of the malediction, but he really couldn't kind of tackle that perspective. He couldn't address that point of view specifically. And I feel like that's exactly what Chihiro's alluding to when he says, "I'll surpass you." Maybe I'm reading way too much into it, but I just think this whole thing goes into like there is more to the enchanted blades. It's not just kind of like black and white, and it's this needle he has to thread, right? By like as like the hero, what is the right thing to do with the enchanted blades? And that is something I always say this, and I will continue to look forward to how the story continues to like tackle that conversation. Also, I told you this, no Ikura. We saw them Asumi, no Ikura. That's a W.
Ikura. Yeah, I mean, shit. It's like that poll that I put up on the Hishaku Hideout. Who will we see first, Char or Ikura? And that is still yet to be seen. Who will win that poll? But last thing I'll say is, you know, I feel for Chihiro because I'm sure he would have loved to have his father there the day he crafts his first sword. You know what I mean? You know, he would have loved to be able to show his father, like, look what I've done. I did this. You know,
Yeah.
You paved the way for me to create this. And you know, as a young man, he isn't able to have his father there because of, you know, his father's like choices in life and what he created and, you know, what that brought forth. You know, it's like a huge domino effect. But, you know, it's just I do feel for Chihiro a lot. I think there's a lot underneath Chihiro's character that isn't really outright stated, but it's just kind of like a subtle nuance throughout the story that you just really have to view him as like a tragic young man who feels like he needs to go on this or, you know, is like has the conviction to go on a journey like this.
Yeah, no, that's I don't disagree. That's very interesting because though everything you just said is true, he really, like we just discussed throughout most of this episode, he doesn't really come across that way. He's very stoic, he's very resolved and very determined. And I can't help but wonder if that like adds to what you're saying in a way, because we're so used to seeing characters like, I'll just say, like, wear their suffering on their sleeve. Like we've seen Yuji, you see characters like Subaru from ReZero, like characters that like, and a whole bunch of other main characters, right? I'm not bringing up, but like characters that you see them suffer and they really are tragic characters that just go through the gutter. Chihiro is like that as well in terms of what he's been through, yet it's not really reflected in how he moves. And yeah, I also kind of like, I often feel conflicted about Chihiro because despite like not seeing a lot of what I enjoy seeing from main characters, he still lands. It is still very fun to see him chapter to chapter, panel to panel. The way he moves is more often than not like really enjoyable.
So it's like a rare character. He's like a rare character. Like I had that one thumbnail. I called him like the perplexing Pegasus. Because he has all the pieces and parts to be something like a, you know, like to break down in moments and then resolve himself and find that resolve to get through it. But we don't see that, but we still treat him thusly. Like we still give him the credit of going through those things without actually seeing it. And Hokazono has managed to like land that and execute it. That's execution for you. That is like a good example of execution. But I think that'll do it. Any final thoughts? Any thing you want to say?
I guess I'll just ask you this last question.
No, I'm not saying all dice.
I knew that. No, man. Do you think we see a much bigger time skip now?
That is a good question, man. Like literally, I'm so conflicted. I don't know what to expect anymore. But yes, I do think we're gonna get a lot. We'll get 6 days. No,
Six,
I
and then
think
a
we'll get.
flashback.
Yeah, we'll get a couple months. I think it'll be a couple months, or maybe a year. No more than that, though.
Yeah, I think it's very likely that the next time we see Chihiro, it is very reminiscing of like chapter 1 and like how we saw him moving early in the series, where like he's already wielding this new blade and he's moving kind of like Batman, just kind of getting rid of evildoers, maybe on the run from Soga at the same time. That would be like very interesting to see if that's what Hokazono plans to go with. But yeah, I'm like you, I wouldn't know. I would say a couple of months as well. Originally, like you said, we had that stream with Cal, and I thought that like, oh, maybe like something like 2 years could work. But like Soga is like a very urgent matter. And even though it would be kind of like fun to see like Soga's empire and the way like he reforms the Kamunabi and integrates the Hishaku potentially, I think he can still do that in a very short amount of time, considering the way he's moving and what we see from him this chapter. So I agree with you in terms of maybe a excuse me, maybe a couple of months. I don't think we'll get to a year time skip. That would be crazy to see. Like a multi-year time skip would be insane, and I imagine you would be fuming because that's gonna be
Look,
flashback central.
Samura's there, and Samura's there
Samura,
already.
oh my god!
It starts with Samura and Yori like
Oh
having
my
a
god!
lunch date, or a dad-daughter lunch date.
Oh man. But yeah, that's what I think. I think that's pretty much all from me, man. It was a good chapter, very enjoyable. Like I said, we have our bones to pick, but me personally, um, I think it was a banger. I
I'm
gotta say.
looking forward to getting cooked in the comments.
I think more people than you think will side with you. Maybe I'm wrong and I get cooked,
Yeah.
but I think,
It's gonna be interesting to see.
yeah, I think you'll see more people than you think agree with your takes. We'll see.
Yeah, and I don't believe we won't be streaming this coming Wednesday because as of now it's not rock solid, not set in stone. But we have that Enchanted Blade showcase. We'll be gearing up for that, so me and Dice it's gonna take us some time to prepare for that, and so just be on the lookout for like a announcement of when the stream will be. Um, and really we'll go from there. I mean, by the time people listen to this, the most likely the submissions already been that round's already over. But we're close to 70 submissions, so this is a big workload for me and Dice. We didn't expect it to turn out this way, but we're super happy about the turnout, obviously.
Yeah, for sure.
So shout out to the community. And I mean, that's it. Just be on the lookout for any announcements. Y'all have a good week. We will have an episode next week though. Like always, stay consistent. And
Yeah.
see y'all later. Peace.
Peace.